What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Colin Thompson Show. I hope everyone is having a awesome day. We are going live across all platforms here, and we are having some. Hopefully, we are good to go now on Instagram. It looks like too, Jack. So we are rocking and rolling across all platforms. Super excited to have everybody in. I'm Colin Thompson. That's Jack Connell. Everything we do here at Not For Long Media is brought to you by the Original Fudge Kitchen. They ship fudge and sweet treats across the country. FudgeKitchens.com. What's going on, Jack? What's going on in your world, buddy? Lots going on in the NFL today, that's for sure. Craziness.
Absolute madness. So I'm just finally getting over this mystery illness that seems to have been plaguing half of America over the last 2 to 3 weeks, but literally slept probably 45 hours over the last 4 days. But no, we're back. We're moving, thriving. NFL has been madness today, yesterday, the whole week, really. But I was looking, did I see Dalvin Cook got cut earlier today as I was in other recordings and meetings and whatnot?
610 632
Bring him in. He'll fix the Eagles running backs.
Let's get the Eagles. Let's get him to the Eagles. Dalvin Cook, give us a call. Dalvin Cook or Gainwell?
Brian Westbrook.
Or Carell Buckhalter or Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, an interesting one this year. Obviously he didn't go back to Minnesota. He wanted a ton of money. Minnesota, a bunch of injuries this year to positions all across the team. So it's an interesting story, like how that worked out with Brees Hall there. They have a great team, and you can't find a role for Dalvin Cook, who is like this electric running back. Like, I don't think he just lost a step overnight. Like last year, he was an unbelievable back, and now he's just not used. And I don't say like the Jets used him properly or whatever, but like obviously they have a star bell cow running back. They got to feed that guy. But everybody uses like two running backs in the league these days. Like, who's out in San Fran? Is it Mitchell?
Yeah,
who's the other
Mitchell
back there?
Yeah, Mitchell.
Yeah, he had a touchdown the other day when C-Mac was getting his ankle taped. And the Jets run that same type of offense. And then you lose your quarterback, so you're thinking both the running backs are going to get touches. So Dalvin Cook is really interesting. To me, he's like he'll be like an Eagle next year on a minimum salary, right? Because he wants to go to a championship contender. Dalvin would go to some contender next year on a minimum and play probably for another contract, maybe. But I'm sure there's a lot of owners a lot of GMs out there that are really happy that Dalvin didn't have a great year. So next year they can get a Pro Bowl running back at minimum because he doesn't have a ton of leverage. He just didn't get a lot of carries there. So maybe he has some incentive-based contractual stuff in the future for Dalvin Cook, but I don't know what he's going to have in the interim. Dalvin Cook, Jack, is he an Eagle? What do you think?
I mean, it fits the mold of one minimum contract guy like that Rashad Penny, guy that's kind of bouncing around. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of another example. DeMarco Murray DeMarco Murray was big money. I'm trying to think of the minimum contract. Eagles are more like an undrafted free agent type guy in the running back staples. They had Josh Adams and a couple other guys last year. They don't really go after the veterans heavy in the running backs on low contracts. It feels like they more go for younger legs.
Can you look up right now where Josh Adams is? I think he's coaching.
I can look right now.
You're the best. I think he's coaching.
He's a quality control coach at
Vanderbilt. Live on Instagram.
He is a quality control coach.
Josh Grade. Can you check too on Instagram for us? Make sure we're live. I think I may have screwed it up. We'll see. But again, I appreciate everybody tuning in across all platforms here. We're having a great time at Not For Long Media. Lots of fun stuff. We're good to go.
You screwed up.
Lots to discuss today. I screwed it up. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on. At the end of the day, Jack, we're having fun. We got people listening, and we're very thankful for those listeners. I digress. I'm going to move it from the destination, Jack, and add it as we go. And be cool, calm, and collected about it and act like people are still listening. I apologize for everyone still listening out there, but we're going to connect to our Instagram and go live, and everything's excellent. So lots to unpack today. Extreme drama in the NFL. I want to start with Detroit. I think that's the safest place to start. Then we're going to go to Bama. I want to talk about A, this Lions team, and B, the situation. And Jack's going to pull up the situation here in a little bit as we just now are going live on Instagram. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Is Detroit has all the pieces of a Super Bowl team, especially if Jared Goff plays like he did on that final drive to get them down the field. He looked like Patrick Mahomes. I don't know why they don't let him do that more. I know it's not built into their DNA, but he literally looked like Drew Brees, like boom, 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 pump the ball down the field. Everyone looked in sync and well coached too. Like that's a team that practices 2-minute drill. Like there's teams that like believe in it, and there's teams that like really believe in situational football. Green Bay in the past, Mahomes and the Chiefs, like situational football. We need a field goal. There's 10 seconds left. We got 40 yards to go. What are our 2 plays? Like everybody says that and shows it, but people that really, really practice it are elite at it. And you could see Detroit is really trying to build something here, really, like obviously, but they're really doing all the right things to win these close games. So Jared Goff, where before he was like kind of, people viewed him as like maybe not the bright spot of that team. But if he can do what he did down the stretch there and complete those passes, tic-tac-toe, that's a Super Bowl team. Aiden Hutchinson, I've watched him. I didn't play against him. He wasn't on the team yet. I don't believe so. I was on the practice squad anyways and hurt. But that guy is like Max Crosby, Joey Bosa mix. Like probably more like Max Crosby. Just like relentless and strong and great moves and is really, really impressive. Bosa to me is more power, both of the brothers. I like their linebackers and Anzalone and the kid Campbell out of Iowa. Like they have players all over that field that can really play. And there's like one mantra on that team where they're all kind of fit the same mold in Detroit. They're just really impressive to me. They're the team, other than the Niners, right, you'd say that are really, really trending in a really strong direction. And even when you lose, you still feel the team is trending in the right direction, unlike some other teams like, the Chiefs, the Eagles, Buffalo, like that mix of teams. Like, what could they be? Now, I think those 3 teams could beat anybody on any given Sunday and can win Super Bowl this year for sure, because that's how this league is gone. But interesting stuff from the Lions. Jack, your thoughts on the Lions roster, coaching staff before we kind of break down this whole this whole reffing situation in the NFL and what they have on their hands.
No, I think they're really fun. I think the biggest thing that really intrigues me about the Lions is one of the ways they sort of just defied modern NFL standards. Like, no NFL teams right now, they don't want to pay running backs. The Lions, and they don't really want to spend high draft capital on running backs. The Lions, they pay a running back, and then they also use their draft capital, high top pick, to draft a running back. And they both are really great and complement each other really well. And it's really fun to see. Their offense is really fully fleshed out. I mean, you've got 2 elite receivers. I mean, they have literally every single piece they need on offense, inside out. Offensive line's great. Laporta is incredible already his rookie year. Jamison Williams is sensational. St. Brown. I mean, they have all of the weapons you need at every level to succeed. And you give them another year to fully gel together. There's no reason why they won't be. I mean, they pretty much are, but they will be regarded in the 49ers class of offenses in the NFC by next season.
Yeah, I think Jared Goff's a question mark for next year, right? Hooker's kind of waiting in the wings a little bit. They kind of drafted him, redshirted him, the ACL situation, the quarterback. That was with Tennessee the year before. He's an absolute stud. What's he look like? Can he come in and play right away? Jared's a seasoned vet, underrated player in the league, and a really impressive team. They're running backs with Gibbs, Montgomery, and really the third string, friend of the show, not for long media, Craig Reynolds, who's been a practice squad guy. He's been active. He's been cut. He's scored touchdowns. He's been a fantasy football like bell cow some weeks, and other weeks he doesn't play. So they have depth in a lot of really key positions there. Detroit, again, what's Jared Goff going to be? And I think if you could be that guy on that last drive where he looks like Patrick Mahomes, like, whoa. But they got to almost allow him to do that. And the circumstances have to fit for him. I don't think they can play football that way and have success. And they don't with that offensive line. As we digress, I want to break down this whole situation. Jack, don't pull it up yet. But bottom line, there needs to be more help for these referees in the NFL. There needs to be more help. It's extremely hard. Just even watching on the sideline as a player in live action, standing on the sideline. I've done plenty of standing and watching from the sideline. Trust me. And trying to keep track of what's going on and seeing stuff in live. You're like, oh, that's a catch. I think that's a catch. And you could be 10 yards away and you see the replay on the screen and you're like, wow, that was not a catch. He was blatantly out of bounds. It's a little bit easier to see on TV with the vantage point from above. But remember, these refs are at eye level. It's much, much different. So there's several people in their ears. New York's in their ear. There's someone up in the booth, a referee in the booth in their ear. There's a medical person that's in their ear for someone who may get a concussion and the refs couldn't see it, or they were a little wobbly and the training staff couldn't see it. They now could communicate with each other, which I think is great. But, I've heard people say, do they need to add a ref on the field? To me, I think somehow, some way, we need to make them full-time in season. I don't know what that's going to do, though. Like, what's that going to do? Make them a better ref? Are they going to have a better eye on 3rd and 5 for a holding call if they don't work their accounting job Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? I don't know. There's really no answer in the fact that there needs to be more support from the NFL itself. People say they want to see their grades for the game. People say a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, refereeing in the NFL is not to the standard of the play. It is not to the standard of the play. And how do you fix it? It's $1 million question. I'm interested to see what you have to say, Jack, but I think there needs to be more support from New York. I think there needs to be more gatherings on the field and say, hey, guys, what do you think? We're in a huddle talking, and someone from New York, which is the head office of the NFL, saying, hey, no, New York says that wasn't a holding. It blatantly wasn't a holding, or that was a catch, or whatever it is. Like, New York should be able to weigh in on things other than touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that to me is where my thoughts are.
Yeah, the one thing I feel like I've noticed more than in years past, and I think it's a great thing. I mean, it doesn't help for the timing of the game, but the picking up of flags. It's almost like how, like, if there's a football that was batted down in the quarterback's hands, they'll let it be a touchdown so they can review it and easily tell it's an incomplete pass. If you rule an incomplete pass, you can't tell it's a touchdown. Now, on the penalty side of things, it's much easier for them to throw the flag, and they talk it over, and somebody at a better angle said, no, he didn't touch him. You pick up the flag. It allows for that conversation that you get it right. And granted, but like you sort of mentioned, a combination of that combined with the guy in New York, eye in the sky in his ear, just saying, hey, now we're looking at an angle right now. He didn't touch him at all or whatever. I think that's great for the game. I think, yeah, like I said, it adds another minute or two, but would you rather a minute or two and get these calls right, or get out of there 2.5 minutes early and run to something like this? And the more I look into the situation we'll get into with the Lions, I don't think the refs should be getting as much scrutiny as they should. There's some points that have been brought up that I think are really good points, if they are true. I have not. You can give your points, watch a video, and then I'll get into what I have to say after that. But let me know when you're ready for this.
Yeah, let me give some context here. Like Chris Long said in his video, oh so great, not too long ago. Like, there's some context that means something in a lot of things, right? So the context behind it is this: Skipper number 70, who's had some great stories, great on Hard Knocks. Guy was a veteran offensive line and grinding to make it in the league, and has made it in Detroit and found a home there as the extra offensive lineman. Excuse me. Skipper comes in as the extra lineman. He's constantly reporting. So when he runs into the game, the refs know that he's the extra offensive lineman, and they pretty much glance at him, and he says, I'm reporting, just wipes his chest like this. And from there, they're like, he's reporting, right? He's going to have to even go up to him and tell him he's reporting. He wipes his chest. So he runs on the same way. And you can bring it up now, Jack. He runs on the same way as normal. Full sprint, running to the referee to tell him he's reporting. But usually you don't run to the ref when you're reporting. You kind of run towards the huddle, get the ref's attention, and wipe your shirt. So as you're bringing this up, Jack, we'll talk about it. But for me...
There it comes. If he had to make the playoffs, maybe.
Can you kill the volume on the video?
No, I can't pull them up. That's what I'm saying. Get through what you got to say, and I'll show it, and then we can come back to it.
All right, run it. Run the tape here so I can go on it.
Nah. There it comes. If he had to make the playoffs, maybe. Is an eligible receiver. Number 70 is eligible. They have brought in an extra offensive lineman.
Okay, so here's 70 is eligible, 70 is eligible. Right in there, if I'm 70 and I hear that, I'm going right up to the referee and saying, I'm not eligible. I am not declared as eligible. I'm not eligible in this play. And grab the ref and make sure you get it right. If the ref communicated it poorly, they'll pump the clock and they'll redo it, and you'll have 25 seconds back to get the play out. So first off, that's on the player. I just heard, now he may not hear it too. It's loud. It actually was pretty loud in Dallas, which is not the loudest stadium in the league, but it was pretty loud. The ref will pump it. You got to go right to the ref, say, I am not So what was happening was Penei Sewell was blocking Decker, 68, right? Decker is one who's going out for the pass. So what happened was he reports to the ref quietly, I'm eligible, I'm eligible, I'm eligible. Penei's over there blocking him from the defense saying that he's eligible. He's eligible. Skipper runs on the field. They assume Skipper is eligible, but he's not. He's not. He usually is, but he's not. Essentially what they're doing is they're bringing the other tackle and bringing him over and making 68 the tight end. Some sort of strong, unbalanced line to the right and 68 tight end on the backside. That's all they did. It's super creative what they did to try to show that he wasn't legal. And I think that's what you have to do now because defenses know this is coming a lot. Like defensive coaches during the week will pull up a clip and say, hey, listen, teams have run this in the past. Decker's an athlete. He's played tight end in high school, whatever it may be. Like it's not a secret anymore that teams do these throwbacks. They've done it to Lane Johnson in Philly. They've done it to Deion Dawkins in Buffalo. So it's talked about in these 2-point conversion world. So teams know about it. So they were trying to hide who was eligible. It was clearly not communicated properly, even though they tried to, and the ref assumed and took off early. That's what it sounds like to me. So I don't know what the communication was in the huddle, but it looks like Skipper, they assumed he was the jumbo guy, the extra tight end, and they weren't listening clearly enough to Decker and Penei Sewell, who were telling them they were eligible. Someone's on here. Carter, appreciate you chiming in on X, Twitter. It was an illegal formation anyways, ? No, it wasn't. They're all saying that, but the receiver to the boundary was off the football. The tight end was on the football, which was Decker, quote unquote. Call him the tight end there. He's the eligible receiver. He's the end man on the line of scrimmage. That's a tight end. The receiver was off the ball. So no, he was completely eligible. And there was an ineligible on the other side of the field. 70 would be ineligible because he didn't declare eligible. I know this is a lot here, but the bottom line is there's some people assuming in the referee position, which is not good. There was poor communication, it looks like. And the crazy part, too, is Dan Campbell explained all this. And that's pretty normal practice, too. I think people don't understand is the refs will come to you to the game and say, Dan, what do we need to know about? Who's your jumbo tight end? Okay, great. It's 70. All right, well, we're working on some sort of play here, guys, where we're going to have another guy be eligible. Make sure you guys are aware of it. Here's how it's going to go down. A bunch of my guys are going to walk up to you and say, hey, he's eligible, but I'm standing here to show you that there's a bunch of guys that they think are eligible and create some confusion, right? So there's a gameplay. There's a gamesmanship behind it. And like I said, I've gone on now. I think there was some miscommunication, of course. But also, I think the ref took off early and assumed it was Skip when really Skip was just running on as a decoy, and it really was for Decker.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of your initial point. That's sort of what I was going to say. And the fact that there's also 3 guys, like you said, the infamous clip, there's 3 guys of the offensive linemen, all in the referee's face. So, obviously, you can't hear them. But, I mean, I can't assume you hear in that video, the loudspeaker, them say 70's eligible. Not only like you could be able to tell best, like you said, you can't hear because Dallas is loud to begin with. If the players would even be able to hear the refs reporting who was eligible and who was not. And my thought process is, I honestly think it's not that big of a deal, or not. Should say that, but I don't think they would have scored if they did this the proper way. Because, like you said, they send 3 guys on purpose there to confuse the Cowboys. Who's getting the ball? Who's everything? Whatnot. If they just sent Decker there to report, they would have known that Decker would have been the guy getting the ball, and they would have covered him a lot more, paid more attention to him. So I think if they did it the right way, they would have not even been a score. But the miscommunication, I mean, sending guys, confusion leads to confusion. Like, well, yeah. I mean, I just don't.
I like it. People say, I like it. But Rich Gannon was great. Rich Gannon said yesterday on our show, he said, listen, I think it was too cute. But she agreed with you. So you got that going for you.
You send 3 guys screaming in your face, like one of them screaming in your face, 3 guys and 110,000 person, however many people are in AT&T, saying, I'm eligible. I mean, you go with the guy who usually has reported as eligible before. Yeah, what if you think of it the other way? What if Dan Campbell said before the game, 70 is going to be reporting as eligible, and then in the game, 68 says he's reporting as eligible. And so the ref assumes, oh, he told me 70, so I'm going to say it's 70. You're in the exact same situation because the ref assumes,
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what really at the end of the day happened. But he told him Decker's going to be reporting eligible. They're smart. These guys, Dan has a good relationship with these refs too. So there needs to be some help with the referees. I don't know what it is. NFL needs to put the funding behind it at the time because they need some help. These guys and gals, it is brutal, this job, brutal. And now they're getting really publicly scrutinized more than ever. So tough day going out to your local date night spot for dinner if you're the ref and, the buddy next to you had money on the lines and you're sitting at the bar having a beer and some wings with your wife, and that's a tough day. Tough day to be a referee in the NFL nowadays, for sure. Once was a great job. Not so much anymore. Wealth Advisory Services, guys, check them out. If you don't know them, you should. WealthAdvisoryServices.com. They've been amazing to me, my family, really helping us through different times with investments and buying houses and 401k, and they work with businesses. They help with retirement. They're great. Paul, Dave, and their team, 100 years of experience. They work with some of my buddies in the NFL, college coaching world, mentor some college players as well with a few different things. So just first-class people. Check them out. Reach out to me. I'll pass along their contact. Just go right in touch with Paul or Dave. They're the best. All right, Jack, let's pull up the Bama clip if you could. The last play of the game. I think there's some things to discuss here. We have Kyle Pagan coming on here at 5:30, so which I'm really jacked for, from Crossing Broad. Absolute stud of a guest. So, Jack, let's pull up the Bama clip and let's see what's going on there.
That's Williams in motion. Low snap. Melrose stopped. Michigan makes a stand and comes up with a milestone playoff victory.
Rose Bowl, granddaddy of them all. Pretty cool to see those two teams playing there. People are saying the last play of the game wasn't the right play and all this stuff. First off, I want to give credit to Michigan, who just said, we're going to run all-out blitz. We're going to run man-to-man coverage, cover zero. We're going to bring the house. We're going to set edges and create havoc inside, and that's what happened. Because if everybody blocks that play right, he walks into the end zone. Like, that's walking. He's going to beat that corner rushing off the edge, or whoever that edge setting Sam linebacker is. He's going to just fall right inside of him. He's going to walk right into the end zone. So I have no problem with that play call. He was a bad snap. He should be taking a rocker step for timing with the guard and then hitting the hole downhill, which he tried to do. He slipped as he tried to bounce it. It's the right play call. Everybody be blocked up. With him running the ball, allows them to pretty much play wildcat. You could also say you could throw the bubble route because the backer was running from the other side of the field to guard that guy, and it would have been a race for the goal line, and I'm going to take the running back who's running downhill as the backer is kind of running sideways trying to catch up. So a great game. I think it's a great call on both sides, and it just wasn't executed properly by probably Alabama's offensive line. They were driving those guys back. An awesome event, college football-wise, right? Like the Rose Bowl is fantastic. Listen, this bowl system, too, everybody keeps talking about, hey, need to fix it. It needs to be fixed big time. College football needs a commissioner big time. If I'm the NCAA, who seems to do nothing right, and we don't know who's in charge there, anything. Like, I know who the SEC commissioner is. I know who the Big Ten commissioner is. Every coach in college football. Well, we know nothing about the NCAA. I'm calling Chip Kelly. I'm calling Kirk Herbstreit. I'm calling all these guys that have given opinions. Matt Rule. I'm bringing them all into a room. I'm saying, okay, who do you think should run it all? Probably Kirk Herbstreit. He should run it. Find a way to pay him to organize it, or at least have him consult, because I know Kirk does a lot in higher-end college football. He's not just popping on College Game Day. He's more than that. So I would make that call to Kirk. Say, you're going to run the thing. You're going to hire some advisors. Give us some opinions, some thoughts, because it's not that hard to run. Like, it runs itself. So it's a monster. But it's getting out of hand with all these conferences and how it affects other sports, and NIL and transfer portal just becomes really a supply and a demand game. Not really like what your worth is. You're just no way these guys are worth $500,000, $1 million in marketing, and you have like 50 of those guys on the team. Like, that's not even realistic. They're not like there's only a couple guys doing commercials. So there needs to be something, and it needs to happen pretty quickly, in my opinion, for it to work at a high level, because it's going to implode on itself. I don't think the 12-game thing is going to solve the problem of all the bad bowl games. So I digress. Jack, before we let Kyle in, any thoughts on college football for you, buddy?
No, the same thoughts I always have on college football. I pay attention, actually. This game, it was really nice atmosphere. My usual touch on the jerseys, I really like the simple things Michigan did for the Rose Bowl. I thought it looked really, really cool. I always like how the teams sort of mix in the rose designs every single year for the Rose Bowl. I mean, it's several teams in years past. Like I think last year the TCU did like the Horned Frog holding the rose or whatever. There's been other iterations in the past, but I just think it's really neat how all those teams do that for the Rose Bowl. And it seems like that's the only, like, they'll do special uniforms for bowl games, but that's the only one where they'll do a specific design catered to that bowl.
Good stuff, Jack. I appreciate it. The great Kyle Pagan. Let's bring him in. Crossing Broad, a monster in the sports media industry and a monster in Philadelphia. The infamous mic in the hand. You are, though. Like, you are it.
Stop
you are
it.
Though. Who else?
I didn't come on here to be filleted by you. I came on here to yell about Nick Sirianni and call for his job.
Yeah. 610-632. Yeah, I don't. Here's the thing. We got to talk Eagles today. Kyle and I grew up in the same area. For those that listen across the country, Bucks County, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, beautiful place to grow up. Grew up playing sports against each other around the area. Didn't really know each other until now. Did a bunch of. I've been on their show a bunch. Kyle's been on mine before. Sam Boner's show. Appreciate you coming on, bro. Crossing Broad. Check out Kyle. It's fantastic work out of you. So, all right, the Eagles. Listen, I'll be honest. I didn't get to watch a lot of the game this weekend. I was trying to watch the entire league. I did a show with Rich Gannon yesterday on Sirius. So we were talking about everything, and it wasn't like my 1 hour show with Ingle tonight where I can like talk Eagles, talk Dolphins with him, and then we like brush around the league. Like with Rich, first off, you should get him on your show and I can work on that. He was unbelievable. That's a side note. I don't want to take too much of our time. But we talked about the Eagles, and it was interesting what he had to say. He just was very concerned about Jalen and the growth of the offense with Jalen. Now, not concerned the fact that like he can't get it done, but like, can they graduate to the next level of offense with Jalen? Not that he's not like mentally or physically capable to do it, but like he's extremely comfortable in gun offense, RPOs. And that's my take was he's graduated. The team has graduated from what they're running now, Kansas City's offense. They can't sustain doing that. They need to run the Niners offense, the Vikings offense, like something that's going to mask their weaknesses and allow teams to not figure out what they're doing. Detroit, all these teams. So I don't know what the answer is to the offense other than I think they need to go a little more old school. Everybody needs to say run the ball, but that's not the answer to the question. What are your thoughts on it? What's the fix offensively? Obviously, they put up some numbers, yards, but it's like it's not as pretty as it used to be.
Yeah, I think this team is so talented on offense, and they're winning in spite of the coordinators. I think you just watch it with Shane Steichen. I think Shane Steichen had so much to do with it last year. Obviously, I mean he's making Gardner Minshew look really, really good out in Indy right now. The quarterback before was looking great too before he hurt his shoulder, was out for the season. I think it's. I don't want to say Jalen has peaked, but I want to say like you have to be able to be creative enough to take away Hurts's deficiencies. Does that make sense? Like use his strengths to his strengths, use the personnel that you have to their strengths. It's just these constant bubble screens, and you have Devontae Smith, 170 pounds, blocking out there. It's weird. The personnel grouping is weird. Not getting Dallas Goedert involved is abnormal. Like this offense is so talented, and you saw what happened with Shane Steichen. And the thing I think what people are so frustrated about is like we don't know who's doing what. Like Nick wants to come out and just protect everyone. He's like this. He's an odd like father figure and I know he's the head coach. You got to fall on the sword all the time when you lose and you get the praise when you win. But like, we just want to know like how much he has involvement versus how much Brian Johnson really has involvement. Everyone's just like confused out here. I feel like in multiple facets of the game.
Yeah, the coolest thing for me down here in Annapolis. Actually, you were down here this weekend, and I'm bummed I didn't get to see you. But the local gym right near Davis's Pub where you sent me the other day, I'm a member there, obviously, and I get to go in and hang out with these guys, and they're great. It's like an older group I work out with, and like the mid-morning crowd, like the retired guys, like They have their cup of coffee like me, and they're lazy as hell, and they watch Good Morning Football, and then you guys in the morning and Brushing Broad, and then they go in. Well, one of the guys went to Villanova, and he's from Philly. So every day he comes in and we talk, and it's great, right? Because I know it's coming. Like, this guy's a Ravens fan, right? They all found out I played in the league through the sauna and through whatever. So we have good conversations. They come up with me with their football questions. So I just said, like, listen, like I'm like this with the Eagles. I think personally, this is a bump in the road in the dynasty of their error of like, I think they could be Kansas City, New England. Like, they have the talent, the depth, the leadership, the ownership, the GM, the quarterback, the head coach. I do. I think this is a really rough patch in it, and all of those organizations have had rough patches with it. Kansas City's going through one right now. Now they clinched, but it's been a rough year for them. It's been tough. It has not been the same. The expectations are higher in Philly. I think Philly's really a 9-8 football club in disguise. I think they are. And if they were 9-8, everyone say, you know what, they're tough. We'll see how they play we'll see how they'll be in the playoffs. And that's my mentality with it. I'm curious to see with you, like, are you looking forward to the playoffs? I mean, of course you are, but like, to me, it's like, hey man, it's like playoff baseball or hockey. It's like, it doesn't matter who it is or what it is. You got to show up and play. The guys at the gym didn't like my take on this, but I'm like, hey, it's not pretty, but I think they'll be good to go for the playoffs.
You do. Wow, that's interesting.
I do.
No, I mean,
I don't think there needs to be some sort of like, we're confident now. Like, I think back to the Giants. They like that. Even the team when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, like, they lost some sloppy games on the stretch with Nick Foles. It was kind of like, oh boy.
Yeah, but that was with
How's
Nick
this gonna go?
Foles. You know, it wasn't with, Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts now. Like, it's this team openly hates each other, Colin. When's the last time that you like saw a team hate each other like publicly like this? Like, it doesn't happen a lot. And for them, for an organization that like is, well, no, they're not even that good at keeping things within house. I mean, all that stuff with Jacina Anderson and Alshon a couple years ago, it all gets out. Like, this team, this organization,
Howie in the closet.
How we go into the closet. Like, this organization stinks at letting things stay inside. Everybody wants to talk to everybody. So it's like, but these guys, apparently, according to Jeff McLean, like at 10-1, they hated each other. They were pointing fingers. They knew they were frauds. And it's so weird. And I can't wait to figure out what happens, because you have Jason Kelsey, you have Fletcher Cox, BG, Lane Johnson, Hurts, who's like a dynamic motivator and player and a guy you'd go to battle with. Like, you have all these guys, and this is still coming out. These fractions are coming out. AJ Brown not talking to the media, which, like, I don't give a shit about AJ Brown not talking to the media. AJ Brown can go take a dump on the 50 for all I care. The guy's got 1,500 yards this year. He's probably the greatest wide receiver of my lifetime, easily. Like,
I think he's the best Eagles receiver of all time.
That's
personally.
fair. I don't even think you can argue that. It's just, but there's like all these fractions and everything in the in the organization with these leaders and stuff that is kind of like, shit, it sucks. But like, maybe it's time to turn it over. I don't know. But going back to your question about the playoffs, like, I never want to be the one caught holding the bag, being like, you gave up on these guys. I'm a pretty optimistic sports fan. Like, we've seen bad, we've seen good, but I was born in 93. This is the greatest 30-year run of Eagles football in the history, unless you're going back to like 48, 49, 60, in the history of like a 3-decade generation as an Eagles fan. Like, we've seen a lot of success. 3 Super Bowls, 5 or 6, maybe even 7 NFC championships, like constant, playoff appearances and stuff. So I never want to stop believing in these guys and everything, but it sucks. I mean, before this year, I thought they were going to hang the NFC East banner, be the first back-to-back NFC East champion in since 2004, I think. But this is all up until last week. I was like, they're going to hang the banner. It's going to be the most forgetful 11-5, 12-4, 13-4 season since probably 2008, when that team made kind of a miracle run to the NFC Championship and lost to Kurt Warner and Larry Fitz and all those guys. But do I think I think Baker Mayfield and that defense is a walk in the park down in Tampa Bay? Absolutely not. I mean, I've been down there. I went down there for the Jalen Hurts first playoff game. They look terrible down there. It's not easy to play down there. Like, I mean, if once again, not a reactionary guy, but like, if Nick Sirianni loses in the first round, like Howie Roseman doesn't think he can win. Howie Roseman thinks he can win with anyone. I'm almost sure he thinks he's the architect of the team. He's proven time and time again that they're good at hiring coaches. Like, I think it's fair to think that like Nick Sirianni's on the hot seat. And you would have asked me a week ago, I would have thought you were crazy saying that.
Yeah, lots to unpack there. And when my career's over, I'll unpack some of that more, I guess. But for now, I can't, sadly. Still trying to get in this damn league. Okay, so slightly optimistic. Yeah, I think, listen, the whole media thing, not talking to the media thing, I think that's probably overblown. I'm sure he stood up in a team meeting and was like, hey, listen, guys, I don't give a shit. We're all good. We're moving forward. I'm just pissed. I want to win. I think there's more of that. I think people think there's like a big saga and drama around it. And sure, a couple players may come out here and there. At the end of the day, like I've been in these locker rooms where there's real drama and real stuff, and it's still nowhere near as bad publicly as people think it is. Like it's really not that bad. I say the 10% rule always. I've talked about it on your show before. Like 10% of what you're seeing is true. Maybe in Philly, 25% of the things you're reading in Philly is true because people are going out with it too. Let's see. Let's talk about those vets. You think these vets are coming back next year? Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey.
Lane, yes. Kelsey, I'm going to say surprise, yes. BG and Fletch. Fletch, no. Fletch, definitely not. BG might got one more year in him. I don't know. I think PG's he's going to have a great career in his post career. So like, go have some fun. Maybe go collect the check somewhere else. He can be a second string defensive end. But no, I think if you told me Kelsey, Lane, definitely, Fletch and BG, I'll say no.
Kelsey, why Kelsey?
Because I want him to. That might be the answer. No, I think.
I mean, if you think about it.
I think it's because he likes doing his post is out of NFL stuff, but I still think his podcast works because he's a player. I don't think it's gonna move down the charts because he retires, but like also you got the Taylor Swift bump. But I think like his endorsements and all this stuff and everything, it works because he's still on the field and he still has that perspective of in the locker room. And all this stuff. It's just so easy to clip this stuff because you got a guy who's charismatic, who's kind of shedding that wall into the locker room. And I think people really resonate with that, and they want to know about that stuff. And that's why when these players do these podcasts, they do so well because they give us more than they give the media.
No doubt. There's comfortability to it. I still think too with the media. I still think you should take a player. They should appoint one media person. You have your turn. And that person should go sit down on a chair and talk to the guy for 15 minutes with their questions. And they can take all the questions from the media folks and ask it. So the person's in a one-on-one setting with one reporter. It could be recorded and it's more laid back. It's like a podcast instead of like, how'd the game go? The next guy, what do you think about the rushing yards? Boom. I think that would settle a player down. No, it's an interesting point you bring about. Go ahead.
Did you see the Kenny Pickett thing today? Like when he came out, there was that article that he refused to be the second string, and that's why they made him inactive last week.
No.
Yeah.
Under a rock.
There was like an athletic article or something like that, and he came out and he just was like, he gave a great statement on it and everything. Said this was the reasoning. I was never asked to be second string, but I will be second string this week. And that's all I'm going to talk about on it. And then right away he gets bombarded with 3-4 different questions about it. And he's like, and then he's going over it. Like, I just gave my statement. I think I did a good job of that. That's all I want to talk about. Like, and that rubs people the wrong way. People like me.
And then every player.
Yeah. Normal people. Yeah.
Normal people. 100%. Interesting point about the Kelsey thing, the off the field stuff, because here's the thing, right? Like, all right, Jason, you don't really have to come to OTAs. Hopefully the season's over in February, but you're off the month of February, you're off the month of March, you're off the month of April. You roll in 4 days a week if you want to for OTAs. You don't even have to practice in those OTAs. Come to training camp, you really don't need to practice too much, enough to be confident. Then you get to play in the game. And you don't really need to hit in practice either because we know what you can do. So like the older you get, the more you're secure you are. If you can play at the same level, less you have to practice. Now, biggest question for him is what's he going to cost? Because he's one of the highest paid centers in the league, if not the highest paid this year. He pretty much went to Howie and was like, you got to cut me a check if you want me to come back. He had him the most leverage in the world, the whole leverage of the city, because all Jason probably would come out and say was be like, hey, Howie didn't give me any good of a deal. That would crush him. He would get crushed. So that's a good point, man. You have a podcast? Where can people find it? I would want to know. I want to learn more about what you can do.
Also, to expand on that, like this whole like celebrity for them is new too. It's not like he was like 25 years old. He had this podcast and was like he's just been riding the wave for 8 to 10 years. It's new and you know, as a guy who got a little bit of celebrity really quick and more of a localized celebrity, you know, through like man on the street stuff. It's nice. You know, you get things more than you deserve. You get a lot of unwarranted respect, and people throw things at you that you normally didn't get when you're just some center for the Eagles.
No, I get it. Even for me, constant battle of like watching, like being out of the league's tough. It's hard. It's my first fall at home. It's my first Christmas home since 2015. Yeah. So it's like, it's a whole nother can of worms. All right, as we finish, the most important topic, by far the most important topic. How about the Philadelphia Flyers? Are you shitting me? Like, oh man, I can't wait to watch tonight. I'm so jacked. Their impact on Philly. What do you think of the team? You think they can sustain it? What are your thoughts?
I don't know, man. I have such a hard time watching hockey. I don't know why I can't get into hockey before June, man. Like I'm such a pink hat.
You gotta start gambling on it, maybe.
That's true.
I don't gamble, but you should gamble.
What is it? Is it the puck line or is it the total? That's like the sexy one that everyone loves.
I think it's the puck line, which is like, because every game in hockey is like you can pick a winner, right? It's such a close game. It's like one or the other.
It's like 1.5.
Puck line is like a goal. Well, yeah, that would be straight up. Whatever a goal and a half is, you could pick a winner straight up and then the goal and a half, which I guess is the puck line, right? I'm sorry if I'm confusing people out there. I'm an idiot. But yes, the puck line is whoever's the favorite is minus 1.5 goals, essentially. So puck line Jesus, they call it on Spit and Chicklets when someone scores an empty netter to make it a 1.5 thing if you're a favorite. It's this whole thing. So you can't get in the regular season hockey. My God, they've been fun to watch this year. If there's any team fun to watch in the regular season, it's this team.
It's because I don't understand hockey. I never played the sport. Like I never played football, but like you just understand that like throw the ball, run the ball.
You weren't at LC? You weren't playing at LC?
Dude, the LC hockey games were some of the most fun games I've ever been to. Because LC hockey wasn't technically like sanctioned, let's say it. So, dude, you bring in the Wissahickon kids, you bring in the Upper Dublin kids, you bring in we had a rivalry with somebody, and we made this kid's life an ever-living hell. I think his name was Yanni. I still remember the kid's name. Man, but like it was so much fun because you could just get on people, you could make signs, you could do all this stuff. And if you're sitting at, LC basketball, you're losing by 40 to Newman Goretti. Like it's not as fun to like get on people, especially when the AD's right next to you and the principal, the disciplinarian there. But it was the Wild West at Hatfield Ice.
Hatfield Ice, Wild West. Yeah, Wood used to play Tenet on Thanksgiving Eve to start their season every year. The Warminster Wackies. And it was chaos at face-off circle down there in old Warminster, BA. All right, what's the latest? Anything else in the Philadelphia sports scene that we need to know about that I'm missing the beat on that your guys are talking about?
And Embiid's back tonight. I don't know did you know that he was gone for 4 games?
Not a big NBA guy. Kyle, as producer Jack sits in the back and smiled at.
Yep, that's your hockey.
I mean, listen, I'm an NBA guy. I used to love it, man. I used to love it. But I think you can't foul, which sucks. You can't be any bit aggressive at all. You can't play defense. And the guys are too good. They don't miss. Everybody can shoot now. So it's like ping, bang, boom around the arc, a little help side defense. There's a 3. Okay, we're going to go to the line. Up, he's on his way there. Oh, they hold him. He chucks it up. We're going to shoot. Like it's like the same thing. I don't know. I'm a college basketball guy.
Yeah.
For March Madness. That's about it. That'd be honest with you.
No one wants to talk about it, but like the NBA's in trouble. I think the Mark Cuban deal is a sign for some of the trouble they might be in. It's a tough product to watch, I think. For my age, for people older than me, for a younger demographic as well. You can fillet yourselves over the in-season tournament stuff and everything. But I mean, the championship was good. Don't get me wrong. I sat down and watched it, but after the Sixers were eliminated, I didn't even participate in it. I don't think it's like a who's the next player. I think they're going to be fine with Wemby, potentially Zion if he gets his shit together, and other guys and everything. Like when LeBron leaves, I think they'll just pick up where it's next. I'd be interesting to see what happens in the next 10 years with like TV deals and ratings and stuff, and will ratings even matter? I don't know.
Everything around the NBA is better than the NBA product. TNT with Shaq, Charles, the draft, college basketball, feeding it, European players coming over, the free agency in the summer. It's way better. I'm more excited about who's going where, but I don't even watch these guys when they go there. Like the big deal in Phoenix, I didn't watch that. Like Lillard going to the Bucks, I haven't watched a Bucks game this year, but I was excited to see it. Jack in the back, text me about it. But other than that, it is what it is. All right, where can people find you? Cross and Broad. Finish your statement on the NBA, and then let people know where they can find you. Cross and Broad, when you guys do your shows, the whole nine.
Yeah, one thing is what I wanted to finish on was the arguments. Like the barbershop arguments is what makes the NFL so much fun. And now with like the barbershop arguments with basketball, that was so fun back in the day. But now you have all these analytics and everything. Your true shooting percentage, and your it's like baseball, your xFIP versus your BBWAAA, and it's like I just want to be like LeBron versus Jordan sometimes, and be like, this is why Jordan is better than LeBron, or this is why LeBron is better than Jordan. This is why Wemby is better than Devin Booker or something like that. Like with all these new like analytics and stuff, football is really the last one that is like so easy to talk about, and even they're trying to do like EPA and stuff, and that bothers the hell out of me. I don't know how you feel about analytics in football.
Well, listen, PFF, don't get me started.
Yeah.
I mean, my biggest issue, I try not to talk. I don't know what I'm doing next in my life, Kyle. To be honest,
I know you're not trying to
I don't want
people, and I appreciate that. I'm the complete opposite guy. I don't know what's going on crossing Broad right now.
You should listen when I'm done playing. When I'm done playing and I go on a warpath of what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to be able to be more confident. But I'll make it crystal clear, and I have before. PFF to me is an absolute joke. Okay, yeah. I'm sure there's great people that work there. I'm sure how can you grade a player if you don't know the play? Mm-hmm. Like, how can you give Lane Johnson a minus on that sack and say, oh, that's a negative when he was right and the running back was wrong? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you know what's the responsibility of the player on that play? Yes, if Dallas Goedert runs a hitch and Jalen throws it in the dirt, okay, Jalen's wrong. But did the guard trip and Max Crosby get in Jalen's face to make it go in the dirt? Then whose fault's that? Mm-hmm. Like, you can't grade players. And you know what I don't like about it, Kyle? And I've heard this. NFL organizations hold it now against players. That's what really pisses me off. Now we're officially podcasting here.
Yeah.
That's what really pissed me off, Kyle. Because you go to the negotiation table and you had a great year. And your O-line coach or your DB's coach or your quarterback coach, you get graded on every play, right? On everything you do. You get a percentage after every game. You graded 76, 54, 80. You can see your pluses, your minuses, everything. Good players too go back and grade themselves. Like, it's kind of normal practice. Like, your grade and you try to play at a high level, right? Well, they're trying to gain leverage as an organization to pay you less, right? Everybody's trying to. So if you got graded well by your coach and then you did bad on PFF, what are they going to bring to the table? PFF. Yeah.
They bring PFF to the table. They bring Collinsworth. Collinsworth, man, that's the best thing he ever did was start that or buy into it, whatever he did.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. So they bring it to the table, dude. That is bad to me. That's bad ball. That is bad ball. That's not even football.
We have to start introducing the tipped interception or the dropped interception. Like if Patrick Mahomes has 13 interceptions, Marquez Valdes-Scantling or Kadarius Toney are probably affected for 3 of them. So it should be like Patrick Mahomes should have 10.
Talk about that Eagles loss too.
What's
You're
up?
right. You're 100% right. Like, people don't talk about that Eagles loss too. I mean, that win over Kansas City, that's a catch and a walk-off touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been the beginning of this slide that is not talked about enough, in my opinion. But yeah, so PFF's really, we usually do like not a grind my gears because they do that on Spit and Chicklets, but we try to do something that's bothersome. And PFF to me is number one. Sorry, cat's out of the bag. I usually don't talk about it on here because there are probably great people there, but God bless business and capitalism. Do as you please. But I'm out on it.
Oh, I'm so out on it. I'm so out on analytics and everything. And I know they work. Don't get me wrong. I know they work, but I'm not gonna be the analyst guy. I'm not gonna be a tape dog. I'm never gonna be a tape dog. I'm gonna look at my eyeballs, maybe watch some YouTube highlights, and you know what? I'm gonna form an argument off of there that you can watch all the tape in the world. Brian Johnson stinks. I'm sorry. Like, if you're watching tape and you're like, well, Devontae Smith, didn't run this route, or AJ Brown didn't run this route, like yesterday, Jaden Milroe running right into the line. Everyone was like, well, it was an RPO. Should have went to the running back. They had two blockers out in front. He follows the guard around. He's scoring a touchdown. They're going to the national championship. Like, we do this thing on our show. Yeah. We do this thing on our show. Yeah. Kevin's a big two things can be true guy. And that people don't like that because you have to be on one end of the spectrum on everything. That's just how society works now. More likely than not, two things can always be true. But no one likes a middleman.
Well, here's the thing about PFF. Two things would be true. They also
I love
screw some players in. Two players could be true, could screw players in negotiating, but they're also massive for like analytics for coaches, and it fills out all their information for them on the film. So they have like the names and all, it has some good, don't get me wrong, but the grading of the players that loses those players money. And some guys grading them, or girl, whomever's grading them, it could be a great football mind, but doesn't know it's 53 protection and it's 4 down to the mic, not 4 down to the will. And the running back has the will. And I hate it.
Yeah, I can tell.
I hate it. Kyle Pagan, what do you got? Crossing Broad, tell us about it. And appreciate you coming on, man.
No, I appreciate you having me, brother. Crossing broadcast Monday and Wednesday, from 12 to 1:30 sometimes when we're feeling crazy. crossingbroad.com. My New Year's resolution, I'll say it on here so that I can hold myself to it. I'm doing 52 videos this year, one a week.
Of what?
We got some things in the hopper. Man on the street stuff.
You're going to do Man on the Street, 52 videos, not 52 weeks.
52 videos
every week on the street.
One a week. Not just Man on the Street. We're going to I think what we're going to do is we're going to look to see if any realtors are going to let us in some players' homes that are on the market right now, or former players. I think that would be a great idea. So
you're the best. Great idea. Kyle Pagan, thanks for joining the show, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, Jack, let's finish the show up. Great Kyle Pagan. Guy's an absolute legend.
Yeah.
And
nobody tell Kyle that Embiid's apartment just got listed for like $5.5 million or something, like a week or so ago.
Did. That's great.
He's a family man now.
God. He's a family man. I love it. That's right, Jack. That's why he got hurt and sat out. Okay. Talked about our friends at the Original Fudge Kitchen, Wealth Advisory Services. You go into a game this year, punch in the promo code SeatGeek Colin Thompson, $20 off your tickets, $50 or more. All right, Jack, got some questions here. Always fun, kind of a new segment. People sent some in last week. We didn't get to them. I had people ask me these questions all over the place. So I fed, instead of me like bringing it up, let's put the question down here and I'll answer them.
Yeah. So the first one we got is, what makes Ben Johnson's offense, for those unaware, Ben Johnson's offense coordinator for Detroit Lions, fun to watch?
Wow. Where do you start? I think their personnel allows them to do a lot of really great things too. Let's give the players and the general manager and the coaches who picked those players some credit first. In Detroit, they have a lot of really good players and pieces to work with. Speed, size, tight ends, a lot of running backs, quarterback that's super smart, good offensive line. That allows them to do a lot of things offenses can't always do. 1, 2, the shifts, the motions, the play action pass, the under centers, all the different things that they do are super impressive. You don't know what they're running anytime they're running. You see the creativity of the offense, throwbacks to the offensive linemen. They're running these cool little jailbreak screens to the running back, stuff that people have never done or really seen before. If they have, it's deep in the archive somewhere, and he's pulling out of it. He's going to be a great head coach somewhere. I'm sure he'll call the plays for that team. he's going to have the pick of the litter of some teams. I also think he could be a head coach of some teams in the NFL right now. There may or may not be already employed and not looking to fire their coach, but someone may step up and hire him because he's that good of a coordinator and that people want him to be their head coach. Some sort of like Sean McVay situation here where he may come in to a place that may not be looking for a head coach because they want him that bad.
Interesting. Next question. Should the kicker for Dallas, who I believe is named Brandon Aubrey, be considered a rookie?
I think he should be considered a rookie. He played 2 years in the USFL. He was a top pick in the MLS of the team in Toronto. Guy was a great soccer player, and now he's having an unbelievable record-breaking season. The guy looks like he's going to the Hall of Fame. He should be up for Rookie of the Year for sure. It's his first year playing the NFL. I don't understand why he wouldn't. I guess, say you play a couple years in the CFL and you come to the NFL when you're older, or the USFL. It makes kind of sense, but to me, no. Your first year in the league, you're a rookie, period. I don't care what league you played in, anywhere you are. So I would have been cool to see him, a kicker, get Rookie of the Year. That's really what I wanted. That's the basis of it. But someone asked me that the other day, and I was like, I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I guess two things could be true, as Kevin Kincaid could say.
Yeah. Why is New Year's considered amateur night?
It's amateur night, Jack. You were definitely out on New Year's, Jack. Misbehaving.
If by out you mean knocked out in my bed at 10 o'clock at night, then yes.
I hate the holiday. I mean, it's great. It's fun to turn the page with the new year, but people get in the way of all your normal habits and your normal fun. So it's amateur night, Jack. Everyone's going out. You know, they seem like they have to go party and what have you, and it gets in the way of us folks. They like to go out and have a couple cold beers and enjoy the weekend. So I regret it. Kyle Pagan was out on Friday night in Annapolis. Jack sent me a picture of a little something I have hanging up on the wall in one of the bars in Annapolis. And I had something going on. I couldn't get out, but the great Kyle Pagan, great dude. Wish I would have hooked up with him. Love having him on the show. We'll get back. We'll get him back. What else you got, Jack?
I hear there's an elephant in the room. Can you tell me what it is?
What's the elephant in the room? We got to work on this segment here. What is it?
It is college
football's hit rock bottom. It's hit rock bottom, Jack. And that's on me. For those that are still tuning in, like, man, these guys, this is on me. This is poor. My notes I sent to Jack. We usually fly by the seat of our pants here and have a blast in the show, but try and be a little bit more organized. I think I would love to hear people's thoughts, especially ones that are listening right now. Chime in. Like, how would you fix college football? Because obviously the tie-in, the top end of it's great, right? Like, Final Four is awesome. Those games these last 2 nights have been great, but how do you fix it? We talked about it a little bit earlier on in the show. Like, I think you need a commissioner. I would talk to Kirk Herbstreit about it. He knows every AD. He knows every head coach. He knows the media side of it. He knows the coaches side of it. He understands NIL. He knows boosters, I'm sure. So I would talk to him or someone of his ilk that can give a direction. I would have him set up a board of coaches in each conference, each division. I love Chip Kelly's perspective of, let's just have one big pie and we're all just in a Power 5 bubble together. There's no real conferences per se. And we play teams that are around us. UCLA should play Arizona, Arizona State, USC, you know, all those different things, Stanford. And then you go play teams around the country and you alternate those teams based off your record and how good your team is. I love that idea. I thought that was great. So the problem is the bowl game's an issue. The one thing I found interesting was Danny Kanell said the other day that you should play bowl games week 0. So your team next year would play the bowl game. And I was like, okay, let me think about this. Well, it's a preseason game. You could say it doesn't even count against your record. It counts on the record from the year before or what have you, or it doesn't even count. It doesn't count on the record. It's a preseason game. It's a great way to get your players in the mix. Or you could say it does count for your record and you got to win it. It's because it's going to affect your record for the next year. Something like that, where you're going to get the players to play in the games. Because now you're seeing what happened to the Florida State game versus Georgia. There's no one playing in the game. It's an absolute mess. And everyone's saying, oh, Georgia beat them fair and square. No, they did not. Georgia, yes, had some players sitting out. But like, we all know, guys, Florida State was missing a ton of players, including their quarterback. So a lot of drama there. Could easily have been avoided, I think, if maybe you play that Florida State-Georgia game week 0 of next year when they have players that need the reps. They need to get ready for the season ahead. They need to get ready for conference play. Bowl games are always out of conference. So I think week 0 will be really interesting. Danny Kanell said that, and I think there's a lot to expand on that. But just to answer the question briefly, I think I would start there with fixing the bowl games week 0 and have a commissioner of the entire college football landscape.
There you go.
What else we got, Jack? Anything?
I hear it's time for
That's it.
the
Oh,
weekly.
look at you. This is great. We're like the bad news bears here. You know what? I got a great little story here, and I'm going to do this more on every show because there's so many good stories I've accumulated over the years as we go past our hour. Appreciate everybody tuning in live. We had Kyle Pagan on earlier. If you missed him, go back and listen to the show anywhere you get your pods. Jack Colin, our producer, and I'm Colin Thompson. Appreciate everybody tuning in. FudgeKitchens.com, Wealth Advisory Services, our wonderful sponsors here at the show. All right, so story time. This is a good one. So this comes from Carter Hart, goalie for the Flyers. He was at the mall the other day, and someone was telling him to tank when he's in goalie because they want to get a higher draft pick. And it spooled a thought. So we have a really great masseuse that I actually kind of introduced to the Carolina Panthers. I'd met her because of some NASCAR guys up on Lake Norman where I live. They work with her, and like those NASCAR guys get beat up now, like beat up in the car, like neck. And I had like a major neck problem. I've had like some calf issues. So like Renee, she's fantastic. She works a lot with the players now. Some really good masseuse work with her. And before that though, I was like, my body was pretty beat up. It was 2020 season. It was during COVID. There wasn't a lot of options for masseuse, right? It's like in the middle of COVID and you're trying to get some body work done. And I go to Hand and Stone, which is like a nice, like whatever. They're like a chain massage place. And I go in there and like, I'm having like it was the neck problem stuff, which is really tough. Like you can't drive, you can't sleep, you can't do anything. So she's like wailing on the back of my neck, right? And she's kept grilling me of what I do. And I have like cut marks on my back from getting work done on my neck. So they look like the big like suction cup, like an octopus got a hold of you. And she's like, you have to play sport. I'm like, all right, finally. You're like, yes, I play for the Panthers, blah, blah. She goes on a tear while she's crushing my neck. And I'm like trying not to cry because like that pain up around your head is brutal. Like literally, like I'm like pinching my leg because you can't have pain in two places, I don't think. And I'm literally like trying to like not tear up as my head's smashed into the pillow. And she's like, you guys need to lose for Trevor Lawrence. I'm a huge Clemson fan. He's the greatest player of all time. And like, I think I scored like the week before, Jack. And I'm like, this is a nightmare. Like she's got me in this thing for another 35 minutes, probably give or take. Right. And I'm just trying to relax. And she's bending my ear about Clemson football and how we should tank. We should tank to draft Trevor Lawrence. So we did not obviously draft Trevor Lawrence. We drafted, I think J.C. Horn that year or whatever it was. I get him confused all the years, maybe Derek Brown, but whatever. Long story short, Jack, I'm sure some other players have some great stories about those situations where you get cornered and people start talking to you about that stuff because it's really awkward. So there's a story time, a little long pod, super fun stuff. Anything from you, Jack, before we roll? Go Sixers.
Yeah, Sixers. I'm glad to see Joel Embiid back in the mix. You know, it's time the season's heating up. All the NFL game. We're basically, I consider this the first week of playoffs for NFL because technically it is for some teams. Like you look, the Bears-Packers is basically a playoff game for the Packers. Texans-Colts is a playoff game for, almost for the division. I don't know the tiebreakers are the Jaguars. So we're officially in playoff season in my eyes.
The other elephant in the room I wanted to talk about, though, Jack, that I forgot to write down was I'm going to speak for a lot of players on the bottom of the NFL rosters around the league. I've been on many of those bottom of those rosters. Not as many as I want to be, but I've been there enough to say I've done it to be able to speak on this. It's a really tough time for guys in the league that are in it. It's hard. The teams it's always a hard league. It's always super competitive. But say you're out of the playoff race. You've been out of the playoff race for a couple weeks. You're sitting in the, long meetings. Obviously, you're compensated well. I'm not saying that. But it's tough. Hard work environments, no matter how much money you're making, is really hard. And people that are listening to this can attest to it. And you love the game and you find passion in the game, but it's all good. And you're in a meeting and it's week 14, 15, 16, 17. You're sitting in the back of the meeting and eventually it gets to you like, man, am I going to be able to play in this league again? Like, am I going to re-sign again? Did I play well enough this year for me to make it? And that's thoughts that go through guys' heads. And you're sitting in there and to all the guys out there that are gripping the club real tight and they're trying to have a great last game of the season, I've been there. It's really hard. You also want to be healthy and go in the offseason healthy so you don't have to get a major surgery and ruin your offseason, right? These are just real thoughts that go through players' heads. Now in football, if you think about getting hurt and you go a little slower, you're going to get hurt. So for me, when I didn't want to get hurt, I played more reckless. I played faster because, John Runyon always said, The guys that go slow and don't play full speed are the ones that get hurt. They get in the way. So it's a really tough time for those players on those bad teams on the NFL that are out of the playoffs. I've been in those seats in a lot of different places, sadly, and I hope those guys continue to play and have jobs because it's a wonderful league while you're in, but when you're out, it is absolutely brutal. And it's a tough week this week. People may not know it. You're reaching out to your agent. Hey, has the team got back to you yet? Have they talked to you? Do they say they want to re-sign me? And they say, yeah, I don't know, Kyle. They haven't got back to you yet. And you're like, well, my friend just told me that they're going to re-sign him. What's going on? So it's a stressful time. After the holidays, there's all hunky-dory and happiness. Everyone's giving each other gifts. Then you have one more week. The season's over, and you pick your bags, and you may not be back. So a little bit of inside scoop there. We went over an hour. Try not to do that. Appreciate everybody listening here on the Colin Thompson Show. Presented by Not For Long Media, the original Flood Kitchen and Wealth Advisory Services. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope everyone has an awesome day.